It's Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. Just acknowledging knowledge with no scholarships. It's Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. Breaking everything down, tech to politics. It's Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. We don't tell you what you want, we just give you what you need. It's Topic Thunder, it's Topic Thunder. News, brews, and views from these Chi-Town streets. Topic Thunder.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On the precipice of what some might consider to be World War III, we bring to you from the armored flotilla known as the SS Rapapa. Topic Thunder is live. It's 7 o'clock on a Monday. What else would you be doing? Thanks for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Brooks. That's Ben. You've come to expect some things from us, and we're going to deliver today. Hello, everybody in the Topic Thunder Dome. Go ahead, sir. Were you going to say something?
No, I was just jumping on and saying yes. Thank you guys for joining us. Miss Pebbles in the crowd already. CJ Mino, of course, and then there we, of course. And what is that? Merhaba?
Oh, she's been. That's Gigi, and she's been practicing her Turkish.
Oh. My son speaks very little bit of Turkish.
Really?
He went to a school that was run by Turkish folks. And one of the classes that they taught was Turkish. Yes, like one of the languages, and he took it for a while.
That's really cool because it sounds incredibly difficult.
Yeah, I've never really got too deep into it, but yeah.
And this is somebody that grew up with Polish, right? Which is an extremely difficult language in and of itself too. And when and you're like, oh, they're close enough in the world now, brother. No, they don't sound anything alike at all. So she's telling me things, and I'm like, so that's what she's been doing, practicing her Turkish, which maybe we should all be exposing ourselves to a second, maybe a third language too.
Man,
right?
I've said this for a long time. If I could go back, there's not much that I would change about my life if I could go back. But one thing that I would change is I would have learned to speak Spanish. I would have taken it more seriously with my job, in sales. Being able to speak Spanish to people would have been such a game changer for me. I wish I would have paid more attention and didn't, ditch class to go smoke weed right before that.
and to be honest, we should have been exposed to a different language in like junior high or like late grade school too, yes. Right?
When it's easiest to learn, yes.
And when you don't have a choice either, right? You're going to start learning the fundamentals of Spanish. So when you do have that choice, like it was like Spanish or French.
Yes.
At my high school.
Same here, yeah.
And you only had to take 2 years. So and that's kind of how they sold it to you. Like, well, you only have to take 2 years of this foreign language.
Funny story. I took Spanish, right? And I took that class for maybe a month or so. And I got all the way to the first test, right? And the first test of the semester, I knew nothing because I wasn't really paying attention. I was high as fuck and tired and wasn't paying attention, right? So I just went through and like literally guessed at all the answers. And I was the first one to go up to the teacher and hand in my test. She handed it to me and she said, Ben, let's be honest with ourselves here. You're not going to ever get this. Why don't you go down to your counselor and just tell him that you're not, this class isn't for you. You need to drop this class. And I was like, you're right, ma'am. And I went down to my counselor and they like reworked my schedule. Like I didn't take a language or a art my last 2 years of high school because I was so far behind after my first 2 years that they were just like, to get you out of here, whatever you want to take, take that. So I took a shitload of like history classes and writing classes and, language classes, language arts classes and things like that. And so that I could graduate high school. But yeah, that is the one thing that I would redo over again is, actually take it more seriously and put in that 2 years or so to at least have a basic knowledge of what was going on.
I would bet a lot of people would probably think that and probably would think something along the lines of what if you're only interested in theater and performing arts and Why would you want to have to take a shop class? Maybe you'd have to just to like, this is how you use a saw. We don't want you we don't want you to lose a hand.
Right.
These are the basics of a screwdriver, a hammer. Okay, you got one semester, you're out, right?
Yeah.
But what are you gonna need trigonometry if you want to be you work on stage development and construction,
Right. Yeah.
You know that.
I always knew that math. I didn't take math in the last 2 years of high school either, because after I think intro to geometry, I was just like, this is garbage. I will never use any of this. I'll never have to find. And here I am, 41 years old. I've never had to find X in my entire life. Never. I've never once had to find X and what the value of X is ever. So I was right, teachers. Fuck off.
But Gigi brings up a good point. It's never too late, and that's
man. It's really hard this late in life. I really did try, but it's really difficult for me, at least, to learn something this late in life.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, did you try like an app or like Babbel or
this was a few years ago. This is probably 8 years ago. There was like a CD program, and I would listen to it in my car when I was driving to and from work, because I was driving like an hour to and from work. So I'd listen to it on the drive to and from work, and it just I never clicked for me. But again, I probably also didn't give it my full effort either, right? And so, I probably have never given it the real effort that probably needed and warranted to be able to do it well.
Some of the apps I've tried the Babbel thing.
We do still have it somewhere.
That CD.
It was Rosetta Stone. I believe it was Rosetta Stone.
Yeah, and that's that. And I before I went to Poland, I was like, I'll brush up on my Polish for 6 months on Rosetta Stone, and it's not conversational. It's more it was very structured, and I know the newer apps like a Babbel, and I forgot the name of the other one, but that they're more interactive, they're more conversational, the more this is how you'll use it type of and more engaging, I guess it would be the way to say it too. But also Gigi right out with a point there, that immersing yourself into something like she's watching Turkish television, which I have no idea. And we have all the streaming services, no idea where she finds Turkish television.
Yeah. Yeah, well, in that same sense, though, like I have watched a shitload of Japanese wrestling in my life, a ton with Japanese content, and I couldn't tell you a single fucking word in Japanese. So, like, for me, I don't know if it's just, I know it's myself, it's me allowing my brain to absorb the information, but for me, it's just proved very difficult.
Yeah, maybe a different method, but like it is kind of like, if you wanted to, I guess you would have. But like, I bet you probably know more Spanish than you realize.
Sure, no, I can get by like uno momento.
Well, I mean, in medicine, it's
do you speak Spanish? Poquito.
Poquito. I'll use that a lot too, and I have some basic commands based on what I do for a living, how to get it through an exam in Spanish. But I can't ask them like, tell me how you're feeling. No. Donde es dolor, which is where's the pain? No respire. Don't breathe.
Don't breathe.
Well, hold your breath when we do abdominal work. We want you to hold your breath because we don't want all those muscles moving. Well, just hold still.
Right.
But yeah, I bet you probably know more, and we could all probably use a brush up on a second language or third. But I don't know. Maybe a nice way to kick off with all the Gigi talk. I don't. What we call it, Gigi's mixology lab, but I think Gigi's drink lab.
Yes.
Kind of.
I like that
better. It's Gigi's drink lab, and today's offering is quite an offering. Like it is like
it's got a fancy cut, a fancy glass.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. This is effervescent. I know you can't see it because of my lights and everything, but effervescent, very cold.
Okay, so there's some bubbles in there.
All right, not sure what that smells like. Almost like a faint licorice smell, but that's let the taste buds.
Ooh.
You do?
I hate black licorice.
Yeah.
This is the top of the list. Yes. It looks like it has like a grapefruit juice or something in it.
Oh man. Okay, so there's There's definitely some prosecco in there.
Okay.
Man, I'm trying to think what else we have on the shelf. Um, there's some bitters in there, but it's a sweeter bitter. Now maybe it's tempered by the sweetness of the prosecco. Help me out here, babe. Tell me at least I'm right on prosecco. I'm drowning in your drink over here. But as far as it tastes, it's this is
there is prosecco, so yes on the prosecco.
There's some lemon juice, I believe, in there because there's something very bitter.
Acidic.
This is like a nice outside. It's 73 degrees, very like temper. Like this is a nice outside drink.
Okay, gotcha.
This is really tasty.
So you're on prosecco, lemon
juice. There's something else in there though. There's some.
It's got to be a clear liquor of some sort, right?
There's a tinge of like an orange.
Ooh, a hint. It's a drink invented during World War II.
Well, hey, how about that? It's not the French. Is that the French 75? Is that the French 75?
Ooh, and Chris said that's a sidecar. Is that a kind of drink? A sidecar?
Ding, ding. The French 75. Yeah.
So there you go. And so we always have to find out how many Brooks bolts each drink gets on a scale of 1 to 5. We've yet to have a 5. We've had a 4.5.
Yeah, this is going to be a 4.5.
Ooh,
this is really well done, and it is. Do yourself a favor. You're out one night, get a little fancy, and just tell the bartender, hey, give me one of them French 75s.
A French 75. So what all is in that? Grenadine or vermouth? Oh, gin and champagne.
Gin and champagne.
Bubbly. That's the effervescence. That's the bubblies that you saw in there. Okay, interesting. That does sound
all right. It's great. It's fantastic. I can't recommend it enough, especially if you can get Gigi to make you one.
Whenever I hear gin, I think of you.
Do you now?
For real. From the back of the OBT parties and shit, you were always drinking that. What was that? There was a particular kind of gin.
Bombay Sapphire.
That's it. Bombay Sapphire. Yes.
Yeah. Very dangerous stuff that you're not paying attention at 94 proof.
My head right now.
Oh yeah, 94 proof. If you're not paying attention and you're treating it like, it's your friend, it's not your friend. It's not your friend. Wizened advice.
Oh, did we get Brooks bolts, by the way? Oh, 4.5.
Well, 4.5. Solid 4.5. Right there. Welcome to the headlines here, ladies and gentlemen, on the show where we discuss the news of the day. Well, we're really going to discuss the big news of the day. In the other segment, we call the big for obvious reasons. But there's a lot of other things going on, as usual, here in this little slice of reality that we're living in. And we're going to talk about them. And first, a story that broke in. I for some reason, I find this to be enormous. Mm-hmm. Like, this is as big a story as given everything on in the last 2 years. This is the biggest story we've seen in some time.
Whoa, that's
my opinion.
Okay.
This is from ABC News. The headline is Navy engineer pleads guilty to selling submarine secrets. A Navy nuclear engineer has pleaded guilty to pass information about American nuclear-powered warships to a foreign country. I'll spare you all the details, but Jonathan Tobe, 43, pleaded guilty in federal court in Martinsburg, West Virginia, to a single count of conspiracy to communicate restricted data. Sentencing ranges between 12 and 17 years in prison. He and his wife, Diana, were arrested last October after prosecutors say he abused his top secret government information and reportedly sold details, here's the kicker, about design elements and performance characteristics of Virginia-class submarines. Let's
what back that up. Help me understand why that's a big deal.
The biggest thing about any kind of submarine or any underwater and probably above surface engagement with water is knowing where your enemy is, especially in submarine warfare, where the game is listening. The more quiet you can make a submarine, the better. But because of the way water works, and this is a cool hint for a really awesome video we're going to take a look at later. But the way water works, the way the turbines turn and a propulsion, that moves the water a certain way.
Oh, okay.
Which gives off, for less, to be very crude about it, signals, right? It's not necessarily sonar pinging, but something listening for something for a pattern of movement, right? That would match the quote performance characteristics of a maneuver of a Virginia class submarine.
Now, did
So
they say foreign governments that he was talking to?
They do not list the foreign government. They actually don't. Actually, it's very interesting that they don't list the foreign entity that he was working with. They go in about the trap that they set, that they already had this guy on tape and confirmed that he was making these dead drops. I guess like showing up with like a USB and like what did he say? A chewing gum wrapper and a peanut butter sandwich was how he was making these drops, right? Random locations given to him by his handler, like leave the information here. The last one was a sting. So they got him, they got his wife. This dude, and here's another crazy part, right? Because I'm sure this story dropped Monday last week. It was Valentine's Day of all days. This dude dropped sensitive information, and the story correctly notes towards the end that submarine secrets are some of the most tightly held and classified secrets the United States has, period.
That's saying something too.
The technology, like again, everything about underwater warfare is knowing where the other guy is, because that tells you where you need to be and how you attack them.
Yeah, like the old game Battleship.
It's sensationalized, and it is what it is, and it's a Scottish actor portraying a Russian admiral without a Russian accent. But Red October is phenomenal for kind of demonstrating that, right?
Yeah,
it's three-dimensional warfare that doesn't exist on land, right? You don't have to worry about what's underneath you, above you, and around you for sure. But that second layer is just everything that you have to worry about times two, because it all exists underneath you in the same capacity.
Yeah,
it's a completely different mindset to everything, warfare, maneuvering, everything.
Yeah, and it's probably easy. Gigi in the comments says, does it rhyme with smusha? It seems obvious, right? If you were to say, okay, which countries would want this information? Russia would be at the absolute top of the list. Russia, maybe China. Does China?
I think China would be on the top of the list.
Okay,
but there'd be any number of anybody. If Uganda got to the guy,
and has submarines, or is involved in that sort of thing, would want that information.
Or if you were buying it on the cheap, because this guy apparently was willing. This is a quote from the story. Ultimately, only paid $100,000 in crypto for highly classified. So not only is this guy like dumb because you thought you were smart,
yeah,
and again, you were the guy that thought you were the smartest guy in the room, that you're gonna get away with it, like honk honk, right?
No,
but you sold it for 100. You dropped a USB stick with God knows how much data for $100,000.
Yeah, it feels like you should have got more than that. You should
Yeah,
have gotten $1 million at least, right? That's the price, right? If you put yourself in that position, $1 million is the minimum you would take for that.
absolutely, and not in crypto either.
Yeah,
because sorry, the gig's up about crypto. Like the feds can track it. They can get their hands on it. It's not what you think it is, and it's not. It's just not the frontier. Everybody was like, it's just another plug in the financial machine.
100%. The big time, the big money that's in the stock market is also in crypto, and they can control it and manipulate it every bit as much as they can do the stock market. And the best part is with crypto, they can do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
It's an addiction. Money is addiction. That's just a thing. Do not pass go for 100. Do not pass sensitive state information for $100,000.
The big money is in
And
Venezuelan counterfeiting.
that's that's a direct reference to Reacher,
Oh,
featured on Amazon Prime. If you have not, do yourself a favor.
I'll check it out.
For real.
Oh,
Fun. Good rollicking time. If you like seeing people's faces get busted and arms broken and like a really phenomenal story, murder mystery, big deal kind of thing. Don't get confused by the Tom Cruise movie.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I thought it was a Tom Cruise movie. Now
Okay, and the biggest problem with that is that Jack Reacher, the way he's written, and his character's been around for 15 years. Lance Storm, his various tweets about Lee Childs, his favorite author, is the guy who wrote all these Jack Reacher movies.
something's happened. Everybody's now saying you got a wicked echo.
Yeah, I hear it.
It just came out of nowhere.
Try this now.
I tried shutting you off and turning it back on. But...
Hey, I do have I even hear it, so thanks everybody. How about now? I'm back on. And
I don't hear anything, which is weird.
No.
I don't hear anything at all.
I don't hear anything now either.
I didn't hear any echo before either. So it's gone now.
I closed a couple of windows there. Yeah, all right, works for me. But yeah, the thing about Jack Reacher is that he's a 6'5", like 250-pound, like hulking beast of a man.
Oh, okay. So that is the exact opposite of Tom Cruise.
He's when he walks into a room, everybody notices. That's just the thing about that's the Reacher thing, right? But yeah, so Tom Cruise like weasels his way into like the hot script, and it's like, dude, we can only like shoot up like so much to make you look taller. There's only so many lifts in the shoes we can give and stands for like you to stand on when you're acting next to taller actors. Maybe give this one up. No, he had to do it, and he kind of almost killed it. This show is the truth, like for real. Reacher is so good.
We'll have to check it out. It's on Amazon Prime, you said?
Prime, yeah, Amazon Prime.
We have that.
Yeah. Again, like we have them all. I still don't know how she found Turkish television. It'll baffle me forever. A story sure to incense at least one host of this show. This story comes from PBS. So when PBS gets involved, you could probably say it's 99.5% accurate, right? There's no arguing about this, right?
Yeah. Headline.
Across the U.S., rents at insane levels with no relief in sight.
Yeah.
Crystal Guerrera's Miami apartment has a tiny kitchen, cracked tiles, warped cabinets, no dishwasher, and hardly any storage space. But Guerrera was fine with the apartment's shortcomings. It was all part of being a 32-year-old graduate student in South Florida, she reasoned, and she was happy to live there for a few more years as she finished her marketing degree. That was until a new landowner. Oh, I got the echo again. I'm going to blame Fiona.
I will continue to read in the meantime if you'd like.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead if you don't mind, please.
That was until a new owner bought the property and told her he was raising the rent from $1,550 to $1,950, a 26% increase that Guerra said meant her rent would account for the majority of her take-home pay from the University of Miami. Guerra is hardly alone. Rents have exploded across the country, causing many to dig deep into their savings, downsize to subpar units, or fall behind on payments and risk eviction now that a federal moratorium has ended. In the 50 largest U.S. metro areas, median rent rose an astounding 19.3% from December 2020 to December 2021. What happened in that space of time, December 2020 to December 2021? We had this thing. Oh, a pandemic. That's right. According to a Realtor.com analysis of properties with two or fewer bedrooms, and nowhere was the jump bigger than in the Miami metro area, where the median rent exploded to $2,850, 49.8% higher than the previous year. I mean, the rising rents are an increasing driver of high inflation, and that has become one of the nation's top economic problems. When you hear people talking about inflation, ladies and gentlemen, this is the type of shit. This is like the crux of it all is the cost of living. You've heard it for a while now when people are talking about having higher wages because the cost of living is increasing at such a rapid rate. Well, that was before this pandemic. And we talked about how corporations and businesses were using this as an excuse to raise their prices. Well, what's the word I'm looking for here? Shortages of manpower and supply chain. That's what I'm looking for. Supply chain issues, right? Those were all the buzzwords that were really just cover for we're going to raise our prices collectively, right? It wasn't just, it was the industry leaders that were increasing prices. And then the people that were the smaller companies behind them were going, well, if the big guy's going to do it, and we talked about this before, it was Pepsi and Coke. Coke raised its prices, right? Because there was a shortage. And not weeks later, Pepsi said, well, we have to increase our prices too. Right? This is just another offshoot of that. And I was telling people months ago, we're heading for a housing disaster because this is happening because hedge funds and corporations and the ultra rich are buying up all the homes. They're buying up all the homes to force people to rent. They drive up housing prices where you can't get approved. These people that are renting, they're not going to get approved for a $500,000 house. And that's where 20 years ago, a $150,000 house in some areas are now $500,000 houses in some areas. So yeah, you could afford the down payment, the 10% down payment on a $150,000 house. It's much more difficult if you're not making $100,000 a year plus to put down a down payment on a $500,000 home. And just at that, they're not selling. These corporations and these hedge funds, they're not looking to sell the property. They have no interest in that because it is a revenue stream beyond their wildest dreams. They were able to raise rents 20% hikes in rents year over year. That's preposterous. And for the government to do nothing, to just stand by and go, we don't know. And then for the Republicans to just yell, inflation, it's Biden's fault, inflation. Nobody's doing anything to stop this. Nobody, neither side is doing anything to stop this from occurring and getting further. And if we don't stop it, because we know businesses at this large a level without constraints will completely take advantage of every situation presented to them. We know this. That's why we have labor laws. That's why we have unions, because left to their own devices, rich people and corporations will almost never do the right thing. They will look out for their shareholders. That's it. They will look out for themselves and their shareholders. That's it. And this is a byproduct of it. It's getting worse. Go ahead.
Let me go back to the story because this is going to back you up. Just exactly what you were saying. A record 18.2% of U.S. home purchases in the third quarter of 2021 were made by businesses or institutions, according to Redfin, as investors target Atlanta, Phoenix, Miami, Charlotte, North Carolina, and Jacksonville as popular destinations for people relocating from pricier cities.
Oh, look at that. They got ahead of it all, right? And because they have the cash on hand to be able to go in and offer something. Dude, ask anyone who's put their house up for sale in the last year. I had a buddy, he lives in the Houston area. He put his house up for sale. He had it sold in less than 24 hours for more than he was asking. These corporations, these hedge funds, they're coming in and they're saying, we'll pay more than what you're asking for it. And who would say no? Right? If you're a home seller, yes, let's fucking do it. You mean I can sell this and already be done with it and not have the hassle of having it on the market and the stress that goes in with that? And, shit like that. So
less than a week. This show's number one fan that never listens sold his house in like 3 days, like final offer, like a day in. It was like final offer a day in, and everything was over asking price and not even questioned. And this was, golly, maybe a 20, like it 2 years ago.
Really. Further on in this story right here, most investors aren't tied down by rent control. Only 2 states, California and Oregon, have statewide rent control laws, while 3 others, New York, New Jersey, and Maryland, have laws allowing local governments to pass rent control ordinances. And laws in some states like Arizona actually restrict local jurisdictions from limiting what landlords can charge tenants. So think about that. Not only are they not imposing rent control, they're doing the opposite, and they're allowing these landlords to have protections against rent control. It's insane. It is a problem that I don't think the governments, local and federal, have a full understanding of how bad this is going to get. When there's no rent control and it's only corporations that own these homes, and there's no homes for sale, or very, very, very few homes for sale, that is not a good situation for this country economically. It just is not.
No, it's going to end up in absolute despair. People, you think it's bad now? Holy smokes! Like, just wait until there's literally nowhere for people to live. People that have jobs, people that have even like what you would consider a decent job, not a great job, but a decent job, that can't afford rent.
What are you going to?
What are they going to do?
We're going to have. Wait, you think we have a homeless problem now? Just wait. Give it another couple of years at the rate like that we're seeing here. If there's not something done to stop this, it's going to get out of control, and we're going to have a massive, massive homelessness problem. Massive.
Which is going to lead to a healthcare problem.
Yep, because people on the streets don't go to the doctor.
They go to the hospital, which is a overwhelming, already beleaguered institution in our healthcare system. And it's just, everybody thinks that I'm making $100,000 a year. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Guess who else they're going to start coming from? Yeah. You think they're going to stop once they get to, we're only going after people making $36,000 a year, bro. Don't worry about that. No, bro. No. Yeah. No. The guy making like $7-8 million bucks a year. You think he gives a fuck about your measly $100K?
Yep.
No. It's coming for you next.
Yep.
You're just watching it happen and being okay with it because for some reason you think you're in some sort of bubble. You're untouchable. And you're not. You're just meat.
In Tucson, Arizona, the mayor's office said it had been deluged with calls from residents worried about rent hikes after a California developer recently bought an apartment complex that catered to older people and raised rents by more than 50%, forcing many out on fixed incomes. That's just it. It's not your lazy, like there's this image that people have of this fat, lazy housewife that, eats bonbons all day and watches Oprah and has 1 million kids and just collects checks and doesn't want to work. And that's who they picture when they picture that person that's on a fixed income, right? They don't look at the mentally handicapped, the disabled, the elderly, the single mothers that are in those situations. That imagine how many elderly will be homeless if we don't do something to help them. They're on a fixed income. They can't work. It's not like go get a better paying job to the elderly, because nobody hires the elderly. Like if there's 2 candidates and one's an elderly candidate and one's a younger candidate, they're always going to change to pick the younger person. Always. So those people don't have options. They're going to throw those people out on the street, and fucking Nana and Papa are going to be out there on the fucking streets because we didn't do anything to stop this fucking madness.
It's a lot of the apathy that society creates in itself. And thanks for Ms. Pebbles for the compliments. And $2,500 a month for a studio. You can get bent.
I can't imagine. That's absurd.
For $2,500 a month, you should be living comfortably with everything paid for, right? Again, socialist, Star Trek-y, futuristic kind of thinking here, but like it's pretty simple. We have all these empty houses, right? We know who's buying them. We know now why they're buying them. We'll just continue to sit here and be like, well, that's just capitalism, bro. Capitalism.
We're just going to hope that the capitalists are going to change and suddenly have a heart.
They'll find a limit.
Yeah,
Don't
exactly.
get Don't get enough, Ben. They'll finally have enough.
No, they will never get enough. There will never be there will be enough when there are no more homes to be purchased by a private by a single entity. It just won't exist.
Well, I can't go through an episode of the show without mentioning my favorite 5 letters in the dictionary nowadays.
Yes.
Let's talk about COVID. Let's talk about one little thing about COVID, and we'll just move on because I've got something really cool to show you guys right after this. But a study just came out that a year after COVID, heart problems remain elevated. Let me repeat that. Even up to a year after having COVID, heart problems remain elevated.
Mm.
As far as Michelle Wilson knew, there was a weird echo there too. Maybe I just have to be up on the mic. I don't know. Let me check my levels and volume. I'm freaking out about this, guys. As far as Michelle Wilson knew, she recovered from COVID-19. Wilson, 65, contracted the virus in November of 2020. Her illness, she said, was mild, and she was feeling ready to go back to work as a nurse in St. Louis by early December. That's when her heart problems began. I literally woke up one morning and my heart was racing and beating erratically. I was having intense chest pain. Fortunately, Wilson was not having a heart attack, but she did develop long-term heart problems, including high blood pressure, putting her at risk for further cardiovascular issues. Despite her age, she had no prior medical history to suggest she was at risk for heart disease other than COVID-19. And indeed, it appears coronavirus can leave patients at risk for heart problems for at least 1 year following infection, according to one of the largest analyses of post-COVID health effects to date. The study published last week in Nature found that the illness increased the probability of heart rhythm irregularities as well as potential deadly blood clots from the legs and lungs in the year after acute infection. COVID also increased the risk for heart failure by 72%.
Is that a
heart
lot?
attack by 63% and stroke by 52%.
But Brooks, there's only the death rate is very, very small, Brooks. It's like the flu.
It's one of many long-term effects and I'm not going to dwell on this because Lord knows it's a scary proposition. Imagine if you had existing heart problems and you didn't know about it.
Well, yeah, and because most people don't. Like, we're also a country where a lot of people don't go to the doctor regularly. They don't get regular checkups. They don't know that they have underlying conditions. That was one of these things at the very beginning of this whole thing. People were like, well, if you don't have any underlying conditions, you shouldn't be. The CDC says 6 out of every 10 Americans has at least one comorbidity. At least one. Most have 2. And they don't, and many people don't know they have them because they don't go to the doctor regularly. So, how do you know whether you have an underlying condition that exposes you and makes you more vulnerable to COVID? That was always the thing from the very beginning. Why the masks were a big deal, because you don't know with the virus. You don't know what it's going to do to your body. You don't know how your body's going to react. You don't know. You don't know what underlying conditions might be exacerbated that you didn't know you had. And that's this is just another fucking thing of evidence to show that it's so much more than just, did they die?
Yeah, and what they die of, what they die with, like, because that's now like the popular way to slice it.
Did they die of, or did they die with COVID? And it's like, what the fuck is the difference?
You're missing the
dead.
point here.
They're equally dead, no matter what. At the end of the day, the same level of dead is there. They're very dead.
If you had a minor barbecue fire that you thought, we're gonna be okay, babe, go get the fire extinguisher, but we're gonna be okay. All of a sudden, some doofus came out of nowhere and just poured a gallon of gasoline on your once innocuous fire. Guess what you have? You got a problem.
You got a problem.
You got a big problem. And that's what kind of COVID was. He was that asshole that kind of barged in your barbecue and ruined everything because he burned some of the house. Maybe some, Aunt Selma got some inhalation of smoke. We don't know we don't know about Aunt Selma.
One of my favorite comparisons, or I don't know if it's the right word to say comparison, but it was once described to me as like if you got attacked by a bear, right, and you survived the bear attack, but you eventually got an infection and died from the infection. What killed you? The infection or the bear attack? Because without the bear attack, you don't have the infection and you don't die. That's kind of what COVID is, right? You may not die 100% of COVID. COVID is the reason that you died. That may not be for very many people, but COVID then opens the door because your immune system is so weakened that the other problems then become much bigger problems because your body can't fight off those other problems, and you die of the infection rather than the bear attack.
It's just we want to stress we don't know the totality of this virus. Last week we talked about a story how we found out that 8% of our DNA is the remnant of ancient viruses. That like if you're computer minded and if you look at a human being kind of like we're the code in a matrix, that is 8% of your code. 8% of you are virus that made its way into your fucking code.
Right. Your DNA, what makes you you.
And we're not just talking you. This is your mom, your great mom, your deepest levels of ancestor. We talk about Neanderthals and Denisovians. We're talking that level of ancestral DNA. 8%. You're 8% virus. So we just have to caution ourselves that we don't know everything about it. And that's been the motto and what we've been preaching on the show since this happened. But I know COVID, our numbers dip. Our viewership literally dips when Brooks wades into the COVID territory. So I'm going to reel you all back in with something really fucking cool. Something that plays into our long-time interest in the whispers of the past of like an ancient technology that may have involved something as simple as sound waves. Stumbling across the old Reddit, I found a very interesting video in the interesting as fuck subreddit. Of course, I found that subreddit.
Yeah.
And this shows you what happens to a stream of water when a low frequency of 25 hertz is applied to it.
Okay. So let's check this out. Come on. Oh, why you gotta fuck? All right, here we go. What? Shut up. No way.
What are we talking about, man? Water responds to energy.
That's incredible. What's going on there? Like, that's freaky.
Just maybe something cool, something to think about. Just, I don't know. It could be, it's a subreddit. I guess that could be fake. I guess we could be faking that somehow.
Maybe, but I don't want to believe that that's fake. I want to believe that that's real because that's fucking cool. Right?
All kinds of whispers and echoes throughout antiquity about how they moved all those really big stones way back then. The 70, 80, 90, 110 ton stones that we would legitimately struggle to move, let alone accurately place with our modern technologies, right? And there's always these whispers of some strange energy and ability to manipulate sound and water and is that everybody Google the Coral Castle, the Coral Castle story in Florida. There's this weird mystery about how this guy was able to move all these stones, and everybody said he had this weird wand he was moving. Again, do we have proof? No, but again, there's science showing you something's there. Something's there to pay attention to, and this story ripped from the headlines of the lightning round because it's almost too good to discuss there. From the New York Post, Mom of Chicago train robbery suspect recognizes him and drags him to the police station. The suspect sought in a Chicago train robbery has been identified as a Loyola University student recognized by his own mother, who reportedly dragged him into the police station to turn himself in. Zion Brown, an 18-year-old sophomore at Loyola, has been charged with armed robbery after allegedly stealing about $100 in cash at gunpoint from Metro train conductor. Metro is the local rail system here. A Metro train conductor Tuesday afternoon. After recognizing photos of the masked suspect seen glancing into a security camera shared by police, reported by the media as her son, Brown's mother brought him into the police station in Calumet City to turn himself in.
Wow.
This is the stupid thing, right? So you're already going to Loyola, which, if you don't know, folks, is a private college. I think it's not Catholic. It's not.
Yes.
I think it's the Jesuits. You're either taking loans out your butt, or you're well heeled, or the university really wants you to be there for whatever possible sports related reason.
Right. Yeah.
Right. It's not cheap to go there. Let's just say that. Brown allegedly held up somebody, and then the defense attorney suggested that he was a hungry college kid and was looking for something to eat. That was the defense from an attorney, a defense attorney. Now, let's segue here and put our defense attorney hats on. Is that the, I don't know what else to fucking say here, guy? Like, they kind of got you here.
He's on video. Yeah. Your mom fucking ratted you out. It's pretty much over. There is no defense. Just take the fucking punishment.
This is literally the only thing I can say without suspending or jeopardizing my license for them to go, all right, 120 hours of community service time, boom, time served, right? The only thing. Again, why? What was the real reason? What was the real reason?
Yeah, I mean, probably more of a, like, one of those things where it was probably just like a rush, right? Like, or can I pull this off kind of thing?
Thrill seeking?
Yeah, I think that's probably. If I were to guess, it was probably a sort of thrill seeking type of issue.
I thought at first blush that this sounds exactly like some sort of initiation for whatever sort of fraternity or organization.
Yeah. That too. That makes sense too. That would make sense.
Yeah, just like the first thing I thought of, and I was like, wait, I'm not saying you have to be rich to go to Loyola, but I don't think you have to hold up anybody for $100 because you are hungry.
Yeah, that smells like a bullshit excuse.
It's probably a $3 ham sandwich down in the cafeteria.
Right. You can go to McDonald's and get $1 sandwich.
Yeah, Venmo. Mom, can you Venmo me $5 so I can get some McDonald's nuggets? Yeah. Like, oh, now you got a criminal record and buy it. There goes your future. And for what? I don't buy I might keep an eye on this, just local flavor and all that stuff. But again, I don't buy I was just hungry.
Jesus. Whatever happened to just shoving bananas up butts for initiations? Jesus.
I must have missed that one too.
I don't know.
Thankfully,
I don't know what gang initiation that is, but
sure. I'll trick a French 75. Maybe it is a French 75. Is that the other version of the French 75? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Hey, I saw a really cool story that perfectly tied into a story we talked about last week, or maybe the week before. No, last week, about the explosion at Mount Vesuvius.
Yes.
Right. One of the largest volcanic explosions recorded in history. It happened in 79 AD. The last days of Pompeii, the level like Roman cities everywhere. And we found was it like skeletons? Well, the papyrus, right?
Yes.
Yes. That literally carbonized this papyrus, and they found a way to X-ray it to read the papyrus, right? Well, they found something else that fucking wicked awesome over there. Unfortunately, people had to die to get this, but they found perfectly preserved neurons in a brain that was baked by the eruption.
Whoa.
So we're going to talk about a process called vitrification, which is literally the making of glass.
Okay.
The temperature, this is 2,000 years ago, right? 2,000 years ago, this explosion was so hot that if you weren't immediately incinerated, your brain reached. I'm going to talk about this is a story from IFL Science, by the way, and you know how much we love those folks there. The scorching hot temperature of 968 degrees Fahrenheit. Apparently, and then a rapid cooling, which would make sense, right? Because the heat wave would blow out and it would rapidly cool, which apparently kind of liquefies the brain and then solidifies it into solid glass.
Holy fuck.
That's the first cool thing about this story, right?
Right.
The second one is that they found neurons and axons exceptionally preserved to the point that they can identify cellular structure via DNA and determine what part of the brain that little piece of brain is from.
This glass brain.
This picture of glass. You'd look at it and you'd be like, hey, that's a nice like coffee table piece. That's really cool. Where'd you go? What state park did you get that from? No, dude, that's human brain.
That was cooked at 900 degrees and then quickly cooled into glass.
They identified parts of the cerebral cortex, basal ganglia, midbrain, pituitary gland, amygdala, cerebellum, hippocampus, hypothalamus, and the spinal cord.
Wow. Ryan Hansen, I want a glass brain paperweight for my desk. Me too, actually.
Hannibal Lecter I'm sure has an Etsy all about this kind of stuff.
Also, I feel like Glass Brains would be a great punk band name.
Oh, for sure, right?
We're the Glass Brains.
That's because that's what all punk bands do. I thought I'd share that with you. That like
That is fascinating.
Just the fact that there are structures that are that preserved. That's how fast that happened. That all of these little neurons and axons didn't have time to disintegrate because everything around them was liquefying and then rapidly cooled, and they got stuck in time. And here we are, almost 2,000 years later, going with liquefied glass brain. Crazy. How science, folks? This is what we do. This is speaking of science. Let's talk about crazy weather, right? You want to talk about some shit?
Yeah.
You want to talk about the weather? This is what we're going to talk. Think about this, and next time you're like, oh shit, it's too hot. Oh shit, it's too cold. Oh, there's snow, the rain. Oh, this and that. I'm going to tell you about, and this is a quote. It's a big, long story. I know where I'm going to go ahead with this. It is a Max Planck Institute for Astronomy study. So it's the mpia.de website. The headline: Exotic water cycle and metal clouds on hot Jupiter WASP 121b. Jesus. So what WASP 121b is, it's an exoplanet. It's one of about 5,000 exoplanets. An exoplanet is a planet that we've identified outside of our solar system. We've only identified 5,000 of these, and about 300 of them are like Jupiter, like ginormous gassy giants, right? With a very, very dense metal rock core. We're still not entirely sure. This particular one that they identified, and they got really good science of the atmosphere, is in kind of like a synchronous orbit, lockstep orbit with its star. And so they're like our moon. We only kind of see like one side of our moon. Well, there's the kind of the same thing, right? Gotcha. There's a hot side to this planet and there's a cold side to this planet. So in a lot of ways, it is sort of like Jupiter in that temperature difference causes a lot of friction, a lot of like weather events, a lot of wind, especially too. And the winds on Jupiter can get insanely crazy too. On the cold side, it literally rains liquid gems. everything heats up on the hot side, gets pushed over to the cold side, and when they said metal clouds, where is it? Metal clouds. Instead of water, clouds on WASP 121b mainly consist of metals such as iron, magnesium, chromium, and vanadium. So, four pretty dense metals that are in atmospheric form, are in gaseous form.
And raining down on the fucking planet. Yeesh.
And then on the night side, it drops low enough to condense those clouds. The winds carry all of that across. And then because of aluminum and some other elements with impurities of chromium, iron, titanium, and vanadium, we know it as the rubies and sapphires, liquid gems. Therefore, begin raining on the night. Liquid gems begin raining on the night side of the hemisphere.
What the fuck?
The universe is nuts.
It's
fucking nuts.
It really is. Like, there is just so much out there that is nuts. I don't know if there's another way to describe it, just mind-blowingly crazy.
And we think we're all right. Well, okay, we think we're so advanced, right? What's desensitized us from this? Is it because we have Harry Potter and Star Wars and Star Trek and this, that? Like, we understand. We know space travel is possible. Or some arrogance that we know, like, because I've seen a couple of Marvel movies, I know how the universe works.
Right.
Like, are you fucking kidding me? Liquid sapphires
Just raining from the sky?
That's fucking crazy. And we've only identified 5,000 of these planets, and we know, like,
it's so crazy because this story says here the same eastward flowing winds that carry the water vapor across the night side would also blow these metal clouds back around to the day side, where they would again evaporate. So it's just this fucking cycle of them liquefying, falling from the sky, blowing to the other side, and then evaporating again. It's crazy.
I love it. And all right, right before we probably we go too long on, maybe not even too long, and just kind of bring you over to the big and talk about something pretty serious. I want to show you something that was discovered not too long ago from one of our favorite sites. And it's actually not Göbekli Tepe, but it's near Göbekli Tepe, one of the sister sites for it. We have this beautifully carved stone face that dates to be about 11,000 years old.
No shit.
Again, we attribute our recorded history to be about 3,000 to 3,500, 4,000 BC. And that's when we think things kind of started to rumble.
Mm-hmm.
We never thought that people were capable of something like this. 11,000.
That's pretty detailed.
Look at what it looks like.
It doesn't look human. That's what I was going to bring up. It definitely does not look like a human face. Right? The proportions are not right.
Way too elongated, right? The nose. It does have like almost two things struck me when I first saw it. One, I was like, that kind of looks like an Easter Island.
Kind of.
Right? And the other one that almost kind of looks like forgive me, I'm not an expert and nowhere near educated on the subject, but almost like an African mask, like a ceremonial like dance mask, or like that.
There's a bit of a like gorilla primate look to it too.
I will grant you that too, because of the way the jaw and the teeth are too, the big upper lip area. It's a fascinating object that, like, again, folks, this is at least 3 times older than we think our history starts.
Think about that for a second. Let that sink in.
We talk about this all the time, that we really don't know. Or as Graham Hancock will say it, sure, I'm a disciple of the man, but he always says we're a species with amnesia. We really don't know. We really don't know where we came from. We have an idea. Oh,
Listen, somebody took the time 11,000 years ago to carve this face out of stone with something, right?
Accurately.
For a purpose. What was, we don't really even know, we don't know what the purpose of this was, who this was, what it was. But someone took the time 11,000 years ago to take a sharp object of some sort and start carving into a rock and making this face. I can't even fathom what it might be, or what is this, the face of what the civilization, the people, for lack of a better, the creatures that were here, that were helping these Neanderthals and Denisovans advance, these creatures that were dressed in all white and flew in from the sky and then flew back up into the sky,
Destined to return.
yeah,
Damn
that
it.
have been described by many different religions and old scriptures and things of that nature.
Cultures.
They've been described, people with beards, long white beards, dressed in white robes, that would come in from the sky and leave through the sky. I mean, could this be one of them? We don't fucking know.
It's fascinating to speculate. It was important enough for some people to like want to etch into one of the most permanent mediums known on the planet.
It had to have carried some sort of significance, because you would imagine 11,000 years ago, surviving, eating, not getting killed by fucking wildlife would be your top priority. Where how the fuck would you have time or want to carve a face out of a rock? There's some reason for it.
Or that's what we're told.
Right.
Or at least our understanding
Right.
or our theory about what life was like back then. But I'm,
We don't for sure on that either. Yeah.
not saying it wasn't a struggle, not saying it wasn't all that, but maybe there's more. Maybe not everybody lived like that. Maybe, we're talking about survivors of a cataclysm, a global cataclysm, like literally not using that word facetiously.
Right.
Cataclysmic damage to the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I was getting some feedback there. I don't know what's up with my audio tonight, but we'll try to fix it. But yeah, I think I'm gonna kind of make an audible here. And I had a nice big plan, and we were going to talk about how Russia was going to set up the invasion of Ukraine, and we're going to talk about all that fun stuff. And if you're at all paying attention to the news that is already underway, the methodology is out there. They're claiming a certain part of Ukraine now as independent states, and now that the peacekeeping mission is on, there's a lot of echoes. This is Putin remembering what NATO said during the Bosnian and Serbian conflict when they were coming in for peacekeeping efforts. This is Putin wanting to get his name in the history books and try to reclaim the old territories lost by he literally said that the Ukraine, even though it's 30 years independent and the people have voted just recently to be independent of Russia, that they're a failed state and that they're a product of Soviet Bolshevik Russia. That's a quote from the current head of the Russian Federation, that Ukraine is a product of Bolshevik Soviet Russia. And he's laying claim to it like you would, I don't know, a fort that you made in your backyard.
Right. Yeah. They've already invaded.
Well, they've had the Donbass and Luhansk. I forgot how to say that the second part, but those two parts of Ukraine. I'm not gonna lie, it's really bumming me out because I feel like this is the start of something awful, the start of something terrible. We've heard stories of kill lists, and I'm sure we'll find mass graves in Donetsk and every other region that they roll through. And if you're not a fan, but if you're learned about the history of World War II and what happened to the Polish people and the Czechoslovakian people, the not only the Russians but the Germans had a kill list too, and it was journalists, it was academics, it was royalty, it was anybody that had any sort of culture or influence or intelligence.
That's it. Influence is probably the biggest one, right? If you had influence, they needed to get rid of you immediately.
It included also scientists and anybody. The idea was to stunt the culture of a society by cutting off its like top 10, 15%. And then they're yours.
Yep.
So all I'm going to say is this. In these, my goodness, terrible. I can hear it too. Just if you have any prayers, say them for the people of Ukraine, say them for the people of Europe, because I honestly think this is going to be something pretty bad.
It certainly looks like it. We say it all, every week when we touch on this subject, but you've been laying the breadcrumbs out for us for months here leading up to this, and here every week we get a little bit closer, and every time we talk about this, it seems a little more inevitable that the shit is going to hit the fan, and when it does, we don't really know what the warfare is exactly going to look like. We don't. I still contest that it ain't going to be boots on the ground, hand-to-hand combat, missiles, tanks, helicopters, planes, guns. I don't feel like that is how. Nothing about Russia and how they've operated in the last decade or so, decade plus, would lead you to believe that this is something that is going to be fought traditionally. They just don't. They are way advanced, and I think they fully understand the capabilities of hacking warfare. When we talked about it, but local community water supplies and shit like that being compromised. Like
they're already. I had a story. Man, you know what? This echo's killing me too, folks.
I can't hear. It's so weird that I can't.
It's bad.
I don't know why that is. You would think that if they could hear, because everything comes through. I'm the main hub, so I should be able to hear anything that the people hear. And I wonder what that is. I wonder. Is it? I wonder if it.
Take me off and back. Just solo this for a second.
So yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, this has kind of walked us up to this point, where we've. If you've been listening to this show and following along, you know what Russia has been kind of working on, if you will. The different hacks of different things, and obviously the influence they had on our election and everything. Brooks is back.
I'll try this now. This is a little bit better.
Yeah, that's what's so fucked up is why can't I hear the echo? That doesn't make any sense.
It's better now. So same. It's actually the only new parts of what they're doing, their type of warfare they're waging. The only new parts have to do with the new technologies. It would be submarines and the internet. But there was they've already made two claims, right? The Russians, and this was their justification for declaring those two areas as independent and sending in a peacekeeping force. Is that one, they think that Ukraine's been shelling with artillery one specific area, and two, the Russians claim a squad of 5, and very specifically 5. What they're sure Ukrainian special forces across the Russian border on a sabotage mission. And here's what's important to know about that: the number 5, and because and I think we've talked about it on the show, and we talked about it a long time ago, that one of the reasons Hitler gave to invade Poland was an attack allegedly made by 5 Polish soldiers on a very small German radio station. That these guys, they sabotage it, and they started putting up like pro-Polish propaganda on the airwaves. And what has been found out is that the Germans killed a bunch of Polish dudes, took their uniforms, put it out. The Germans made it happen to make it look like the Polish did it, right? And the next day, like, they're rolling tanks.
It's like a false flag kind of deal.
Putin's very much aware of the history here, more so than certainly any average American, and probably at this point we're talking historian level, especially within Russian history, right? Especially his version of Russian history, right?
Yeah.
Which is that the crux now is, well, we don't really know what he wants. First of all, we don't know where this guy stops, and two, he certainly has a thirst for reclaiming what he's claimed as a bogus deal and a poorly negotiated end of the Cold War deal, which means he doesn't like that there are countries next to his that are democratic, and we're given the option to be democracies.
You know, Ryan Hansen makes a good point in the comments. Putin's going to take whatever he wants. He's like the bully going, what are you going to do about it? You can't hurt me. And I think there's some truth to that. Like, he is very emboldened right now, right? Like, what he's got to feel his chest has to be puffed out with confidence. That sort of confidence of like, what are you going to do to me? Do you really want to go there? Do you really want to go there with me? That's what he's kind of putting off, that aura of, you know, do you really want to do this? Do you think that this is really a good idea for you?
And not only, Mr. Hansen, you're right on. It's not only full of oil and precious metals, which again, Russia doesn't have a whole lot of resources outside of gas and oil. They don't have a lot of even iron deposits that they can mine. They get all of that elsewhere. They source a lot of their raw materials. Precious metals. Ukraine is the entryway for about, I think, 3 gas pipelines from Russia into Europe. So this is about energy, and energy being used as a weapon in warfare as well. Now, again, nothing new. The United States cut off oil supplies to Japan in late 1941. What happens in 1942? We forced Japan to
make a move on their end, yeah.
We're like, okay, what are you going to do? You're attacking our friends. We're going to cut your oil off. Well, we know what happened, and debate however and why that all happened, and that's a different story.
Right.
What Putin's now faces, that we did something and I say we, I guess Western forces or alliances,
NATO, if you will,
never did before. We called him out, and we called out the lies. We told everybody what he was planning to do. And I think we talked about this too. A very interesting tactic, because it burns an intelligence source to go, guys, we know that Putin's sending false flag saboteurs across the border. We have intelligence on that. You burned an intelligence source. You told that source to get out 5 hours before you went up and said, this is what he's looking to do. Right. That's how fast that probably happened.
Sure.
There is that phone call on that phone that only rings once and for one reason.
Right.
It's not even like that's it. It's not even a message that there's nobody on the line. It rings once, that's it, and you know the plan.
Yep.
It's GTFO.
Yes.
For real, because you'll be had. They will, the minute that there's only 3 people that knew about it: Yuri, Vladimir, and that guy.
yeah, and we're not going to name him because we might have to kill him later.
Right. So we've called him out on these things, and I know that had to rattle him. And a lot of what I've been reading, not me, I'm not. What I've been reading is that they feel like this has rattled him to the point, because he didn't think we had that sensitive and that close information. So we have been poking and we have been prodding, going, what are you going to do? What honestly needs to happen, he needs to shut down every source of money, every legitimate line to cash, period, and any global banking and financial system, period. Any resident of the United States that has dual citizenship or is on here in a visa or anything, especially if you're tied to oligarchs, and trust intelligence services know who their girlfriends, and by the way, a little bit of side information: these oligarchs have a ton of shell companies with their various mistresses and girlfriends being the CEOs and listed on these corporations. We know them all. Shut them down.
Right.
Freeze their assets. But take their yachts, take their cars, take their apartments, seize every single asset. That's the only way. You go, all right, dude. All right, you're going to cause some bloodshed, and we know by treaty, there's only certain things that we can do here. And you're very smart. You've put us into a physical situation that we can't respond until you cross that other line, right?
Right.
Well, we'll make it tough for everybody around you. That's the only way, if that's the way.
Yeah, that would be interesting. And that would certainly, you would imagine, cause a reaction. And then I guess that's the next question is exactly what would that reaction be? That's the mystery in this whole thing is once we push him to the point of too far, what will his reaction be? That's the biggest unknown, I think, to the masses. Maybe the intelligence community knows or has a good idea. They're not letting that information out. So we sitting here discussing it, that's the 800-pound gorilla in the room, if you will, is when push comes to shove, when he is put back against the wall and all of his assets and all his buddies' assets have been frozen, what is he capable of doing and on how large of a scale?
Well, I mean, he's got nukes. I mean, thousands of nukes. I mean, that's the ultimate thing, right?
Right?
I mean, Ukraine has allegedly has nuclear weapons too after the fall of the Soviet Union. So and we know, like, obviously, I believe Germany and France and obviously Great Britain have some. So again, the nuclear deterrent, like
Do
nobody
you,
wants
do,
to go
you,
there.
do you feel like nuclear warfare is a realistic possibility, or that seems to me like that would be the last resort, if you will. That's after you tried a few other things to try to win this thing. No,
I think, as opposed to a large scale, we're going to drop the biggest kiloton bomb on the biggest city you have. I think like a much smaller, like tactical nuclear strike um, is not out of the realm of possibility.
right? I got a
I,
military base of some sort.
it's, when we put on my military hat here, the only time you use a weapon capable of such destruction is on a population,
Right.
not military.
Exactly. I agree with you there. Yeah.
It's a weapon of that caliber is a message, is a statement.
Yes.
It sure. I mean, military forces that's one thing, and that's almost to be expected. But that's not what that type of weapon's for. Especially like the smaller ones. Like I'm talking like a small, like yeah, we can take out Nashville and Gatlinburg's going to be a-okay. We're talking about that size. Yeah, Chicago's gone. Goodbye. But Naperville, fine.
That would be incredible. Think about that.
I don't know. Again, I might be talking out of my butt here a little bit, but that's the type of the level of scale. We're not talking about like boom, like the mutually assured destruction pact. I think it'd be much more likely, or even like a suitcase event, that type of small tactical device being used.
It's funny you say that and you bring that up because kind of taking a little bit of a left turn here. You talk about this idea of a particular city, a large city being attacked and bombed. It's always been one of those things where when it comes to rural versus urban living folks, people that live in large cities, that's a concern that they have. They are interested in world politics on that level because if you live in Chicago, there is a possibility that if someone wanted to attack this country, they would target Chicago. Me living in Lubbock, Texas, if Russia wants to make a statement, it's very unlikely that they're going to pick Lubbock, Texas to be the place that they decide to drop a nuclear bomb.
They could really hate Texas Tech. You never know.
You're right. Be really pissed off about Texas Tech for some reason. But I doubt it. It's more likely New York, Chicago, LA, Nashville, Miami, Dallas, those larger type of cities. That's where they would be. And that's why you see people in it goes to that divide of city dwelling and rural dwelling people. They have to think about different things. There are different things that affect you living in a city that don't affect you living in a rural community. And this is one of those major things, is that if an attack were to happen, it's going to happen in a major city. It's not going to happen in some small podunk town in North Dakota or something.
Right. something I've had to wrap my head around an adjustment in the last 3 years of my life too, coming from like the suburbs to live in a major metropolis now, especially like downtown now.
Uh-huh.
It's a completely different set of calculations and like looking both ways and checking down alleys and like if you don't, you'll end up in the headlines. You'll end up as a story.
For real. There's a level of crime that you don't have in rural communities that you have in large cities, like you say. There's multiple layers of difference. And maybe that doesn't make a sense. The oil fields here in West Texas, maybe that becomes a target on some level. I don't know, but that now that you say that, Courtney, that would make some sense considering that the Permian Basin is the largest oil deposit in the country, and if not the world. Crippling us in our ability to tap that. That could very well be a major blow.
Now you're talking. Now you're talking, Mr. Hansen.
Yeah, exactly. Ryan Hansen. What if they nuked the super volcano, causing it to erupt?
The only one thing could happen then. Godzilla comes up from the ocean and pats down the super volcano.
That's it. That's our only hope.
Not only destroys Rodan, that just comes out of nowhere too, but also energy beams Putin right in his tiny little beady eyes. That little 5'9" little small man. That's the problem, right? He's 5'9". That's the problem.
Yeah. He's got that little man, that Napoleon syndrome.
Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm not about to introduce the lightning round. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's his favorite segment of his favorite podcast that he never listens to. That'd be my dad. And that'd be the lightning round, where 3 stories enter the Thunderdome. 1 gets read, and you, the listening audience, the Thunderheads, get to choose what story that is. It's pretty simple, folks. We're going to see a bunch of lightning bolts light up the chat room. And right after that, I'm going to read a bunch of headlines. And you choose the easiest 1, 2, and 3. And I even got my pad of paper and pen ready to go to count the votes. So, as I like to say, let's not dilly-dally.
We're going to find out, by the way, hold on real quick. We're going to find out because the thought in the chat is that your echo happens when you bring stories up on your computer. So we are going to test that theory, I think.
All right, I'm willing to test it because I did unplug and kind of replug a bunch of things and turn down some volumes. I rebooted the soundboard over here, so I was thinking that might have been it. But yeah,
we'll see. We'll
Science!
Find out. Yay!
Headline number 1: Tesla vehicles recalled over fart noise. Sent to us by Tipton Moscow.
That guy gets.
Tesla vehicles recalled over fart noise. Headline number 2: Arrest warrant secured for brazen beef bandit in Roswell.
The alliteration, ladies and gentlemen.
Love it. And headline number 3: cross-country skiing Finn Remy suffers frozen penis in mass start race.
Oh my God. I can't think of anything worse.
We're waiting for Ryan Hansen to come up with some punchy anecdotes here.
While people are absorbing that.
One more time, ladies and gentlemen. Headline number 1: Tesla vehicles recalled over fart noise.
We already have a vote for that. Ms. Pebbles voting for number 1.
Headline number 2: Arrest warrant secured for brazen beef bandit in Roswell.
How can you not go with brazen beef bandit? The headline writer on that should get an award.
I don't know, because headline number 3 has cross-country skiing Finn Remy suffering a frozen penis during the Olympics.
Man, how do you not go with the frozen penis? I gotta hear that.
Is this a restaurant?
I want to hear it. Yeah. Oh,
I don't know how you don't order the frozen penis.
Oh, okay. So now Ms. Pebbles changing your vote to number 3, the frozen penis.
Oh, she was overtyped. You're going with the frozen penis?
I already forgot 1 and 2. I'm only thinking about frozen penis.
Well, let it go. Let it go.
Fartmobile.
Beef Zeitgeist. Stiff competition. Bravo, sir. Bravo, Mr. Hansen, the headline
Unbelievable.
rewriter.
And 3 is running away with this thing already.
I think we're heading in a certain direction here. I see. Ms. Pebbles did 3 lightning strikes. I see.
I see what you
Okay.
did there. I like that. I like that.
Okay.
Maybe
All
we
right,
should keep going with that now from now on. You post how many lightning bolts for which 1, 2, or 3 for which story you want to post. I don't like that idea.
Well, we'll see. And Ms. Pebbles, I saw a Guam reference earlier, so they got that on my mind. Not that I didn't see that. So, folks, you can go ahead and Dick Sickle. That's how I check into motels. Only Motel 6s, though. I'm Dick Sickle.
For real?
No.
Oh, if I'm going to start using that then.
Go for it.
Dick Tricksicle.
Dick Trickle, legitimate NASCAR racer.
Oh, my NASCAR driver, yeah.
And oh man, during the height of Sports Center, because it never got better than Olbermann and Patrick, never got better. Any chance? And I believe they even opened a Sports Center with saying the name Dick Trickle.
Dick Trickle.
They couldn't help themselves, and God bless them for it. That was damn fine television back in the day.
Yes.
Olbermann and Kilborn, but you got 2 guys at the same style.
Yeah, nobody ever compared to Olbermann and Dan Patrick. Their chemistry was perfect. Every Sports Center host since has tried to be Dan Patrick or Keith Olbermann.
One or the other. Yep. And try to recreate that chemistry too. And it's
very hard.
It was
the only one that's done it on any real level is Scott Van Pelt. He's created his own thing that's been a little bit different. He's really kind of stuck as the nighttime, that late night Sports Center host. That he does his show a little bit different than everybody else does it. He's about the closest to those guys.
Stuart Scott and who's the
Carl Rams or Kenny Mayne?
It was Kenny, maybe Kenny Mayne. They had something, but it wasn't the same. Again, we've gotten off the tracks here,
yes,
folks.
Because everyone is desperately wanting to find out about this guy's frozen dick.
Everybody, no, you don't want to hear us talking about the glory days of Sports Center, do you? Mm-hmm. No, you want to hear about Olympic athlete. This man's name is Remy Lindholm. He is the representative of Finland for the men's 50-kilometer mass start race at the Beijing Games that was shortened to 30 kilometers because of the inclement weather.
Jesus.
Oh, yeah. The organizers worried about frostbite during Saturday's race. It was delayed by an hour and shortened by 20 kilometers. They nearly swiped half of the race off. Think about that.
And the Olympics.
Right? The thin suits and underlayers worn by the racers, as well as plasters to cover their face and ears, offer little protection, all in the name of speed and aerodynamics, right? Apparently, this guy, just under an hour and 16 minutes into his race, traversing the course and howling freezing winds, leading his penis to become frozen for the second time in a cross-country skiing race following a similar incident in Ruka, Finland last year. Now, let's talk about this, shall we?
What? The first time my dick is frozen, I'm not doing that thing ever again. He did it a second time? What is wrong with this guy?
I think the headline should be 2-time dick freezer doesn't smarten up. There should be some serious questioning of this man. You've done permanent damage.
In less than a year's time, you've had your dick frozen twice. What are you doing, sir? Knock it off.
You're doing permanent damage to your penis.
What are you doing? Just because you want to fucking ski in the cold? Knock it off.
The next time you're only going to be hard is when you freeze it again for the third time, sir. But apparently,
you lose it then. Right?
He explained that he used a heat pack to try and thaw out his appendage once the race was over. And, quote, once the body parts started to warm up after the finish, the pain was unbearable.
I fucking bet. I can't even imagine. Getting kicked in the nuts hurts really bad. How about your dick is frozen and then it's not? And then you got to fucking deal with it. I can't even imagine what the pain. He's ice hard.
He's as cold as ice.
Oh my God.
His penis is willing to sacrifice itself. You didn't come here to hear me sing. but you came here for a lot of other reasons, and we certainly appreciate that as we continue to sail on this journey aboard the SS Rapapa. And we thank you for listening to Topic Thunder. What is this? Yes.
You're as cold as ice. You're willing to sacrifice our love.
Fucking Foreigner, man. Right?
Let's have them play us out tonight.
I like it. So, as again, say thoughts and prayers and whatever else you believe in, good karma to the people of Ukraine and Eastern Europe as bad things are about to come their way in a scale that we haven't seen in quite some time. So we'll be obviously staying on top of that. But of course, we appreciate everybody in the chat rooms coming in aboard the old SS Rapapa. Miss Pebbles, hey, thanks. There he is, the man himself. Biz chimes in right at the end there. I love it too. This was a lot of fun. This was a good show. I think we always have we always move the meter a little bit as far as our understanding and knowledge and grasp of concepts in the world, and I appreciate that about the show. So
You got me to rant this week. I was on fire for about 20 minutes then.
I'm gonna sometimes I just might take a pee break.
Yeah, well, you can. I'll be back in a minute. You just keep ranting, Ben.
So, folks, from the bottom of Ben's heart and from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for listening to Topic Thunder and participating, watching Topic Thunder on YouTube, on Twitch. You can find us. Just search Topic Thunder Podcast, the Topic Thunder Podcast. You'll see the lightning bolt. You'll see our handsome mugs, and you'll be in for a good time. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, and ladies and gentlemen, again, thanks for listening from the studios aboard the SS Rapapa. I bid you a good night.
You know that you are cold as cold as ice to me. Cold as ice.